So here we are, Pentecost Sunday, and Pentecost follows Ascension, which follows Easter, which follows Lent. Such is the rhythm and narrative of ritual and tradition by which we tell the story of this faith lineage with which we are aligned. The story reminds us of who we are. As Jeremy Younger once said some years ago, it's kind of like the family story. It might not have happened exactly this way, but nevertheless is true. Nevertheless reminds us of who we are as a family, as gospel in livers in this place, in our time. So, as the Acts of the Apostles says, at this juncture of the story, we're at Pentecost. We hear that the community is gathered, a community of devout people living in Jerusalem from every nation under heaven. When they hear a sound of a rushing wind from heaven, they assemble. They witness an event that bewilders them, astonishes and amazes and disturbs them. Of course, this is a particular community of devout people, people of Jewish lineage. Looking back, we discover they're not gathered by chance, but for a festival, the Festival of Weeks, the second greatest feast in Israel's annual cycle of holy days. Originally, it was a harvest festival, but it had become a day to commemorate the giving of law on Mount Sinai. So as we look back and learn, we see connectivity and continuity. This bestowal of the Holy Spirit, divine breathing into and of life, this happens into a story, not into a void. Prophetic words from Joel, from Peter's Jewish context, interpret, make sense and meaning of what on earth is taking place. Church claims this bestowal of the Holy Spirit at Pentecost as something new, as a new revelation superior to anything before. But it's interesting to consider that to understand what was happening, it needed prophetic words from a community with stories threaded through with a world breathed into life and indwelt by divine spirit and presence. So this story becomes foundational to the faith story of a religious community that emerged from Judaism. Community first labelled people of the way, over time Christians, followers of Christ. Pentecost is celebrated as the birthday of the church. We wear red and we eat cake. So as you've listened to the story of Pentecost again, do you imagine what happened back then? Does your mind imagine what happens back then? What looks like drunkenness is not, Peter says. Rather, it is a fulfillment of Joel's prophetic words. Words that predict a time when the Spirit of God will fall upon all creation, empowering prophecy, visions, dreams, wondrous displays in heaven, and signs on earth. We look back in linear time to locate this event, this Pentecost happening. But where in linear time do we locate the fulfillment of this prophecy? Do we, as Peter proposes, see that the prophecy was fulfilled at that moment in history? Or do we project it into the future, see it's a still-to-be-fulfilled ideal? For surely, if what was prophesied came to pass, or if it has, it hasn't happened in any way we understand. See, when we think about Pentecost, it always seems a step removed. It's not about now, Pentecost, is it? It's not about us. Didn't it happen over there to someone else back then? Or, it's going to happen later? Or maybe it's just one of those stories that's nice to think about, but, it doesn't make any difference to real life. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's just a cool story to tell that orientates us a little differently to life, to how we understand things, to what we allow as possible in the world. Perhaps it makes us aware that in each breath, we're drawing in the sacred, the divine breath of life, and what that relieves and releases in us. Our tradition over time can, like Pentecost, become something over there, that we're kind of obedient to, because we try to keep it, because that means what being faithful is all about. But the reality is that our tradition can become layered with cultural practices and habits that can seem irrelevant and rather cumbersome. But maybe if we can peel back some of that stuff or learn the heart of things, tradition has sought to be a means to communally express the notion of God with us. And for those of us who practice and who participate, for us to learn how to embody and to speak and to act this God with us. You see, practicing something changes us. There's that rule of 21. If you do it 21 times, you do it without thinking, unless you get older and then you can't remember. Anyway, as God with us is brought to life in us, then this reveals God alive in the world. So you could say, as Christians in our day and time, we benefit from Pentecost because we're descendants of those newly inbreathed who from Jewish roots became Christians. In this moment, the Spirit brings the church into existence and empowers it. That's the way Pentecost is sometimes explained. So if we accept that we benefit from Pentecost, how are we of benefit to the world from Pentecost? At Pentecost, the Holy Spirit breathes upon and fills those gathered. The sound of it causes all to assemble. Each and every person hears of the marvels of God in their own language. They receive it as they are, where they are. They do not need to become other than themselves to receive it, to hear it, and to breathe. We are directed to understand this as fulfilling Joel's prophecy. And that prophecy is that all of creation, that each and every person from greatest to least is filled, is blessed, is breathed upon, is gifted and empowered to express and to be their God-intended selves. Pentecost reminds us of the way things actually are. That each and every person and the whole of creation is breathed and breathes into being divine presence. Pentecost reminds us of who we are, reminds us of what is possible. Further, it reminds us of what is real now in each moment, that each breath is a bestowal of divine potential, and this, Pentecost, is what a world that is conscious of looks like. We participate in structures and systems that benefit us, yet they are denying and diminishing the capacity of others, of our creation, to breathe. We can, as we do with our tradition and with Pentecost, make them issues that are over there, back then, somewhere else, for the future. We can refuse to accept that we participate in perpetuating injustice. We can talk about it, perhaps even act to alleviate the symptoms of suffering, yet do nothing to untangle and uncover the fundamental injustice of systems that perpetuate the unjust share of resources. Because we are in the habit of living this way, because we would be inconvenienced. But Pentecost tells us our breath is intermingled, our suffering is mutual, our dignity is interdependent. Pentecost may have happened, an event in time back then, but the place of Pentecost in our story, our tradition of understanding, of God revealing to us who we are, is far more eloquent than that. We locate our lives within a framework of lineal time, past and present and future. But for you and for I, the only certainty we have of life is right now. Now I want you to humour me just for a moment. I was at the museum with my granddaughter at a puppet show about sharks. Before we went into the deep, deep ocean to encounter the most ancient of sharks, we had to breathe together. We had to prepare ourselves to enter. So I'm going to invite you to do what those kids did really, really well. And I want us to breathe together, just for a bit. I want to count 2, breathe in, 4, breathe out. If you're up for this, and I'll try and count and breathe in and out. We'll see how we go. Okay. Let's breathe in, 1, 2. And out. 1, 2, 3, 4. And breathe in. 1, 2. And out. 1, 2, 3, 4. This breath in this moment, you are alive. This you can know. This breath is life in this moment. What if this breath in this moment is Pentecost? Each breath and each moment we're enlivened with divine spirit to make Pentecost real. To make this creation a place of divine blessing for the flourishing of each and of all. Pentecost reveals to us the potential of now. Our people cannot wait. Our planet cannot wait. Perhaps this breath, this moment, this now, is all we have.